He shielded the younger girl and said to me, "She's pregnant. She can't handle stress." I calmly slipped my phone back into my clutch. "Perfect. This is the third piece of evidence I've gathered on your embezzlement." My mother-in-law wailed and begged me to forgive. My sister-in-law fired off texts, branding me vicious. Then the girl arrived at my door clutching an ultrasound. "Sister, since you can't give him children, step aside." I smiled and produced the vasectomy report. "Guess why I haven't conceived in 3 years? Because the man who got you pregnant had the snip 5 years ago." Before we go on, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you're listening. Late autumn Riverdale. Sycamore leaves carpeting the ground. Serena stood before the full-length mirror, fingertips gliding over the champagne silk gown. Italian couture, cut to the curve of a waist that still turned heads. Tonight was her 3rd wedding anniversary. On the vanity waited a velvet box, and, inside it, a Patek timepiece Jason had coveted for months. She'd pulled every string to get it. She checked the time, 5 p.m. That morning he'd nuzzled her neck, promising a surprise reservation at Orion's rooftop revolving restaurant. Her phone lit up. An anonymous MMS. Sender, unknown. Image, a hotel bed in disarray. A man's suit jacket strewn with a woman's lace. The angle was sneaky, sharp enough to reveal 2 intertwined bodies and, on the nightstand, the star projector she'd given Jason for office naps last birthday. Her finger paused, nail scraping the cold glass. No tears, no frantic call, just a stillness that settled like winter ice. She touched up her lipstick, a shade bloodier than before, slipped the velvet box into her clutch, and dialed. "Leonard, the file you've been holding. I need it now." A grunt of assent. Keys in hand, stilettos ringing against marble. She descended to the red Porsche and punched the starter. "Orion, sweet." She could hear the girl's giggle before the door even opened. She didn't knock. She tapped the keycard. Beep, unlock. Jason in a bathrobe, hair tousled, holding a goblet of red. Chloe, her new silk slip crimson against her skin, curled on the sofa, cheeks flushed with afterglow. His smile shattered. "Serena, what are you doing here?" Chloe squeaked and darted behind him. Serena's gaze glided from the star projector's blue glow to the tangle of sheets, then to Jason's face. A small, arctic curve lifted her mouth. "Had I stayed home, I'd have missed the encore," she said, voice calm as glass. "Happy anniversary, truly unforgettable." He reached for her wrist. "Listen, it's not." She stepped back, lifted her phone, hit record. His composure cracked. "Put that down," Chloe whimpered, pressing her belly. Jason pivoted, protective. "Enough. Chloe's pregnant. She can't take this drama. Blame me. Hurt me, but leave her out." Serena echoed the word as though tasting spoiled wine. Pregnant. 3 years ago she'd wanted a baby. Jason had pled timing, schedules, market volatility. Later, silence. Not unwilling, just unwilling with her. That dull ache again, but she kept her spine steel straight. She lowered the phone with elegant precision and drew a slim silver flash from her clutch. "Fortunate." Then, she said, tone ringing like chilled crystal, "because this is Jason, is the 3rd and final proof of your embezzlement. Dates, accounts, amounts. Add the first 2 files and you're looking at a decade behind bars." Color drained from his face. The glass trembled in his hand. Chloe's fingers loosened from her midriff, eyes darting between them, uncertainty blooming. Surprised, Serena smiled, slid the flash securely back into her bag, and zipped it shut. "Happy anniversary. I hope you like the gift." She didn't spare another glance at the 2 ashen faces. She turned, the pricey designer stilettos carrying her, step by unhurried step, out of the nauseating suite. The corridor was laid with thick carpet that swallowed every sound. Behind her the door slammed with a violent bang. Jason's roar and Chloe's tear-choked questions bleeding through the panels. Serena stepped into the elevator. The polished mirror returned a face as unruffled as glass. Only when the car began its descent and the floor numbers ticked downward, alone in that sealed cube, did she allow her eyes to close for a second, the long lashes trembling once, involuntarily, just once. When they opened again, only icy resolve remained. Back inside the place that had once been called a home, Serena went straight upstairs to pack. She felt little attachment, a few clothes, some jewelry, books, and the personal items that truly belonged to her. As she pulled the suitcase down the curving staircase, the doorbell rang in a frantic staccato. Margaret and Lily practically burst in. Margaret began wailing the instant she crossed the threshold, beating her thigh. "Dear Lord, Serena, why torch a good life? Must you turn the house upside down?" Lily folded her arms, her glare scornful. "Sister-in-law, let's be honest. Big brother entertains clients. A little flirting is normal. Which powerful man doesn't? You're amassing evidence to bury him and Rex Sterling. How vicious can you be?" "Vicious." Serena paused, studying the pair. "Margaret, The mother-in-law who had nitpicked her for 3 years now wept as though SHE were the injured party. Lily, the girl whose tuition and social debts Serena had quietly settled, was staring at her like an enemy. The chill inside her deepened. Entertains? A little flirting? Serena echoed, a thin cold arc curling her lips. Taking a secretary to bed and getting her pregnant? That's your idea of harmless fun? Margaret's wail hitched, then climbed higher. It can't all be Jason's fault. You must have neglected him somehow. Men need face. And that Chloe is carrying sterling blood. She's a hero. A proper wife swallows her grievances. A hero? Serena nearly laughed. Mother, have you forgotten who bankrolled Jason's rise? Vance Capital, my father's backing. Sterling's flush now, so I'm disposable? Margaret's face mottled, cyan then white. Lily jumped in. Ancient history. Your family invested because they saw my brother's talent. He built the empire. And Vance rode his coattails. Show some gratitude. Ingrate. Am I? Serena nodded. Done debating. She wheeled her case around them and headed for the door. Stop. Margaret lunged, fingers biting into Serena's arm as if to gouge flesh. You will not leave. You will not sue Jason. Hand over those files or I'll die right here. She dropped to the floor, kicking and screaming. Lily barred the doorway, finger jabbing. Try sending my brother to prison and Sterling will hound you. Serena. Riverdale won't be big enough to hide you. Serena watched the farce, exhausted beyond rage. One by one she pried Margaret's talons off her arm, gentle yet inexorable. Mother, she said, meeting the older woman's tear-filmed eyes. Voice eerily calm, remember, you knelt before my father, begging him to rescue Sterling. You vowed you'd love me like a daughter. Margaret's sobs choked off, shame flashing across her face. Serena turned to Lily. And you, who paid your DUI settlement last year, should I remind you where those mysterious deposits in your account came from? Lily blanched, mouth opening, no sound escaping. Serena pulled her suitcase past them and out into the night, never looking back. The wind was cold, stripping the last vestige of warmth from her cheeks. Her phone buzzed non-stop, Jason's texts swinging from fury to groveling. Serena, shred the proof and we can negotiate. I'll make Chloe terminate it. I swear, you'll be my only one. I was wrong. Give me one more chance. Please. I can't go to prison. She answered none. She drove to a high-end loft downtown she had bought years ago and never occupied. This would be her starting line. Standing in the empty living room, she dialed Leonard. Leonard, she said, let's begin. In the weeks that followed, Riverdale's moneyed circles were rocked by a scandal they couldn't hush. Jason, it was whispered, had embezzled and hollowed out his own company. The news was half buried, but everyone who mattered heard and understood. Sterling's stock began to wobble. A handful of partners grew coy, and the banks quietly reopened every line of credit for reassessment. Serena never filed a straight divorce petition. Instead, she moved through Leonard, one measured step at a time, feeding folder after folder of evidence to the relevant regulators while, in the shadows, buying up every stray share of Sterling's stock she could find. She showed nothing on her face, yet every move was lethal. Jason, frantic, tried to reach her again and again. He even camped outside her loft until the doorman threatened to call the cops. Each time he was turned away, the man looked hollowed out, eyes bloodshot, the old swagger gone. The Sterlings, of course, kept swinging. Margaret somehow unearthed Serena's new number and phoned daily, wailing, cursing, recycling the old platitudes, one night of marriage, 100 nights of grace, a house united prospers, and so on. Serena picked up once. The moment she heard the familiar sob, that Chloe is just a toy. You're the one we welcomed with red silk. How can you drive your own man to the gallows? She tapped a block and ended the circus. Lily bombarded her with venomous texts. Serena, you poisonous bitch. Damn you to hell. You think you've won. Even if my brother does time, he'll make you pay. Keep watching. You'll be the one sobbing soon. Serena read the spiteful lines without a flutter of anger. She almost found them funny, then screenshotted every one. Tucked them into a folder marked insurance. Once, she drove out to her parents' mansion. Victor smoked in silence, finally exhaling. I told you that Jason Kidd was too slick, not husband material, but you insisted. Eleanor squeezed her daughter's hand, eyes brimming. Good riddance. A heartless animal like that isn't worth a single tear. Move back home, sweetheart. Mom will take care of you. Serena patted her mother's hand, giving a calm smile. I'm fine. Don't worry. I know exactly what I'm doing. She didn't stay. She needed space hearts of her own to finish what she'd started. That afternoon she met Zoe at their usual cafe. Zoe, her best friend since graduate school overseas, was one of the very few who knew the whole blueprint. Still thrashing around at Sterling? Zoe asked, swirling her coffee. Serena answered evenly. Cornered beasts. And Chloe, oddly quiet for someone with that personality. Serena lifted her cup, blew across the steam. Who knows, maybe she's baby mooning. As she spoke, her phone chimed, an MMS from an unknown number. She opened it to a black and white ultrasound. The fetus floated like a curled comma. Beneath the picture read, "Sis, this is Jason's baby, perfectly healthy. He promised to give us his name. Sender, Chloe." Serena passed the phone to Zoe, who snorted. Impatient little climber, already delivering her own press release? Serena only smiled. She could read the script. Young, pretty, convinced that pregnancy was a crown, desperate to yank the real wife off the throne. 2 days later, Chloe came knocking, literally. She appeared at the base of Serena's loft, styled for the cameras, flowing maternity dress, cashmere coat worth thousands, makeup soft, one hand resting on a stomach still as flat as a dancer's. The moment Serena walked up, Chloe glided forward, wearing an expression equal parts apology, triumph, and challenge. "Serena," she called sweetly. Serena stopped, gaze level. "Morgan, something you need?" Chloe nibbled her lip, as if gathering courage. "I know I hurt you, but love isn't a faucet you can shut. Jason and I, what we have is real, and I'm carrying his child." She produced the ultrasound again, holding it out like a treaty. "See, almost 12 weeks. Strong heartbeat. Jason says this is his first baby, the one he's always wanted." Serena didn't take the photo. Her eyes flicked over it and away. Chloe's voice rose, emboldened. "You and Jason were together 3 years and never conceived. The doctors said you're not very fertile. Right. He's the only Sterling son. He needs an heir. If you can't give him one, why cling to a title that isn't yours anymore? Step aside. Find someone better. Let me and my baby have our place. I'd be grateful." Autumn sun poured down, gilding Chloe's smooth skin. The ambition in her eyes glittered just as brightly. Serena listened without a flicker of rage. When the girl implied she was barren, the corner of her mouth curled, an almost invisible, ironic arc. When Chloe finally ran out of breath, Serena asked quietly, "Are you finished?" Chloe froze, unsettled by her composure. Serena unhurriedly opened her clutch and drew out another folded sheet. She moved with deliberate, theatrical calm. "Morgan, you're right. Children matter, especially to a traditional family like Sterling." Serena unfolded the paper and held it before Chloe. "So before Jason and I married, I suggested he have a full fertility workup, just to be safe." Chloe looked down, puzzled. "It was a vasectomy. Patient, Jason. Date of surgery, 5 years ago. Bottom right. Riverdale Hospital's scarlet seal. Unmistakable." The blood drained from Chloe's face like a tide racing out. Her eyes flared, nailed to the page as if she could burn a hole through it. The hand shielding her belly clenched, nails biting fabric. "No, impossible," she whispered, voice quivering. "Jason wouldn't." Serena studied her chalk-white shock, the teetering madness in her stare, and finally let a sharp, icy smile surface. She leaned in until her breath brushed Chloe's ear, soft and merciless. "So, Morgan, guess why I never conceived in 3 years of marriage?" She paused, savoring the collapse, then delivered the last slow cut. "Because the man you claim fathered your child had himself snipped 5 years ago." A ringing filled Chloe's skull. The world spun and cracked. She stumbled back, almost falling. The ultrasound slipped from her trembling fingers and fluttered to the ground. 3 months pregnant. Jason, sterile since 5 years ago. Whose baby was it? The question stabbed like an icicle, shattering every last hope. Serena straightened, turning from the dazed, swaying Chloe. She bent, retrieved the ultrasound, brushed away non-existent dust, and tucked it back into Chloe's icy hand. "Morgan," she said, almost kindly, "the first trimester is delicate. Take care of yourself." Then Serena walked on, swiping her keycard, gliding through the loft's glass doors. Sunlight poured through the wall of glass, stretching her shadow long and straight behind her. Outside, Chloe crumpled, a broken sob tearing from her throat. Inside, Serena never broke stride, heading straight for the elevator. In its mirrored walls her face showed nothing, only a faint, final flicker of cold satisfaction deep in her eyes. The farce was over. Her life was just beginning. News of Chloe's meltdown outside the loft reached Jason within the hour. He exploded, convinced Serena had attacked her. But when Chloe wouldn't answer her phone, he pressed her best friend and heard the word vasectomy. His mind went blank. 5 years ago, When he'd first latched onto the Vance fortune and was chasing Serena hard, he'd gone under the knife to prove his devotion. Reversal could come later. The payoff was now. Only he, the surgeon, and perhaps Victor knew. How had Serena found the report? Had she always known? Panic drowned him. He dialed Serena non-stop, hit voicemail every time. Chloe had vanished, moved out, phone dead, fleeing the truth she couldn't face. Her pregnancy had become a punchline, and the whole circle was laughing at him. Bitch. All of them. Jason trashed his office like a madman, his reputation and freedom circling the drain while the world pointed. Meanwhile, Serena tightened the net. Leonard filed for divorce at the courthouse and handed federal the flash drives proving Jason's embezzlement and fraud. The case was opened the same day. Inside Sterling, chaos. The board lost all faith. Major shareholders united, demanding Jason resign as chairman and CEO immediately. Stock nosedived. Banks called loans. Suppliers hammered for cash. Sterling teetered. Margaret and Lily scrambled, selling jewels and real estate, desperate to plug holes or fund an escape. But Serena had already anticipated exactly that. She had filed for a property freeze that locked down the bulk of Jason's assets. And the same order quietly placed Margaret's and Lily's accounts under surveillance and restriction. The once bustling Sterling mansion now stood all but deserted, its gates closed to the world. Nothing left but a mother and daughter weeping face to face and trading blame. It's all your fault. You spoiled him from the cradle. Now look, everything's ruined. Lily shrieked at her mother. Blame me? Margaret wailed back. If you hadn't spent your life stirring up messes your brother had to pay for, he never would have touched the company's money. The family, from the inside out, had shattered beyond repair. 3 months later, Jason's embezzlement trial opened in the Riverdale. Serena appeared as a key witness and the aggrieved party. She wore a crisp black skirt suit, her makeup flawless, her expression calm. Among the haggard cast of litigants she looked almost luminous. When the bailiffs led Jason in, he was barely recognizable. His eyes were sunken, his hair half gray, every trace of his old magnetism burned away. He took his seat in the dock, and his gaze drilled through the crowd until it found Serena. In it lived hatred, resentment, and a plea he himself refused to voice. The proceedings moved like clockwork. The evidence was ironclad, and even his own counsel could conjure no miracle. When the judge pronounced him guilty and sentenced him to 10 years, Jason swayed and nearly crumpled. Before the bailiffs led him out, he turned for one last look at Serena, lips trembling as though some final word might save him. She met his stare with flat, detached indifference, as though he were a stranger whose name she had already forgotten. The message was clear. Every debt between us is paid. From this moment, we walk on opposite sides of the world. Jason read that silence. The last color drained from his face, and he dropped his head as the officers escorted him through the side door. In the gallery, Margaret let out a choked sob and nearly collapsed. Lily braced her, white as chalk, hatred still flickering in her eyes, but no longer daring to confront Serena. The divorce decree followed quickly, because Jason was the at-fault party facing felony charges. The greater share of their marital property was awarded to Serena, together with the shares she had quietly amassed. She emerged as the largest shareholder of the tottering Sterling. She chose not to raise the company to the ground. Instead, wielding her new majority control, she brought in a formidable strategic investor to restructure and recapitalize the firm. The dead wood was carved away. Core assets were kept. Bad debts were spun off. Sterling, rechristened and leaner, survived instead of sliding into bankruptcy. Throughout, Serena displayed a cool, surgical brilliance that made every executive who had once dismissed her for her age and gender swallow his condescension whole. One sun-soaked afternoon, Serena returned to the mansion that had housed her 3-year marriage, and every lie that had poisoned it. She had come to collect the last of her personal things and sign the final handover papers. The house was already listed for sale. Anything of value had been sold off by Margaret and Lily, leaving rooms echoing and frayed. Margaret looked 10 years older, meeting Serena's eyes. She sighed, said nothing, and simply passed her the key. Lily was gone. Rumor had her in another state, chasing a fresh start that sounded more like an escape route with no destination. In what had once been her private study, Serena found a dust-covered box, her college design sketches and award certificates, dreams she had shelved for marriage, for family. She brushed off the dust and cradled the box against her chest. Outside the front door, the sun was radiant, warming her skin like forgiveness. She drew a long breath of the free air and felt a 1,000-pound weight slide from her shoulders. Her phone vibrated. Zoe. Serena. All done? Yes, she answered, a quiet laugh in her voice. It's over. Perfect. Come celebrate tonight. I've got new people for you you to meet artists. Designers, you'll love them. I'd like that, she said, smiling. In fact, I've decided to open my own design. She ended the call, slid behind the wheel of her red Porsche, and merged into the midday river of traffic. In the rearview mirror, the mansion dwindled, a shrinking silhouette of every chain she had broken today, until it vanished. Serena kept her eyes on the road ahead. Through the long dark and the clinging mud, she had cut every lock, cast away every betrayal and every wound, and left them shrinking in the distance. The future would still demand its price, but from this moment forward she would pay it only on her own terms, for her own dreams. Thank you for listening to today's story. If you enjoyed it, please like and share. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more. See you next time.